I don't know.
And he's sweating it.
He is.
All right, welcome to Frickers and good evening. And this is John Cullen. I'm going to host tonight's program at Frickers. Glad that you are on the air listening to us. And if you're bored, come on out and see us. There's all sorts of televisions, all sorts of food, drinks, and everything else that you want if you are a sports fan. That doesn't mean you need to turn it off if you're not a sports fan. You might be here to hear, your son or your grandson or someone you care about on the air. But we're glad to have you. Just a couple things. What our lineup is going to be this week, tomorrow night, I'm going to be at Bellevue to watch Galleon. The Tigers take on the Bellevue Redmen. And then on Thursday on Eagle 99, it'll be Anthony Wayne at Fremont Ross. On Friday, you'll have St. Joe Gibsonburg girls on Eagle 99. And our game, by the way, tomorrow is on 92-1 The Wolf. So we're going to jump right into it. Of course, longtime friend of the program. I think I can safely say that. Ryan Fretz, head coach of the Clyde Flyers, is with us, and he also has his captain this year, Cam Shortridge, joining us also. And we're not going to put Cam on too much of a heavy load here in this conversation, but we will defer to him. But I'll start with you, Ryan. This is how many years for you at Clyde now?
This will be the 8th year that I've been at Clyde.
How did that happen is my question. It seems like it was just yesterday I was sitting there talking to you like, hey, you're the new coach. This is what we do.
I know.
We'll support you, and boom, here you go.
Here we are, starting year 8. I don't know. I mean, we were just out there talking before we came back here, and how many years it's been, and Cam and I were discussing how my coaching style has changed, just in the 8 years and just in the couple years he's been in the program, it adjusts, to the players that you have,
to the talent. Yeah.
But I mean, oh my goodness, yeah, it's been 8 years. I love it. I love coaching in this league and love coaching at Clyde. I mean, the crowds are awesome, the fans are awesome. The boys that have played in our program are awesome. So. I mean, I couldn't ask for a better place to be coaching.
Well, and the other thing is you've already started the Ryan Fretz coaches tree, as one of your ex coaches is now the head girls coach at Clyde, and that's Blaze Bainey. So, it does it make it a little bit of a challenge when you guys are fighting for gym space at all, and who has seniority over that?
No, I think it was a good move, given that girl's position to Coach Bainey, to Blaze. I mean, he's earned it. He had to deal with me for 7 years. That in itself was a good reason for him to get it. But we've worked pretty well together as a team. He's learning some of the stuff as he goes that he couldn't get as an assistant.
Right.
But I mean, if there's questions, he'll ask me. But there's a lot of things that he already knows.
Right.
And we sat down in October and worked out gym time. I mean, it's not perfect. There's times where we have to give and take a little bit here and there. But I mean, he's been at both of our games so far. I've been at their home games so far, and I'm going to head back there after we're done here tonight to watch them finish up their game against the Sailors from Vermillion. So it's there's good support from both programs there for each other.
Well, and that's the beauty about this level of basketball in this part of the state. I mean, most of the coaches respect each other. They try to be as compatible to work with schedules and all the things. Sometimes, like during COVID, it was like, oh my gosh, everybody had to deal with stuff and scheduling and all those things. Talk about the Sailors. Your next game is going to be away on the road at Vermillion. That's tomorrow night, right?
Oh, yep, tomorrow
night.
So
we'll talk about that. So Cam Shortridge with us today. So Cam, I know it probably was not your thought that you'd be on the radio, but it's just life, and when you're get over it, and when you're a captain, that carries a lot of responsibility, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sure that you feel that responsibility. Have you felt like the guys are as cohesive as they need to be, or is there still some work for everybody to kind of get into that we really are in it for each other type mentality?
I think there's still definitely a little bit of work that everyone needs to do together. But growing up together and everybody playing together, that definitely helps.
Well, and you guys know each other very well, right? So have you been in a position where you needed to pull somebody aside and say, hey, listen, man, X, Y, Z? I mean, I know it's uncomfortable, but have you been in a position where you've had to do that? Because being a leader and being a captain, sometimes you have to do the things that other folks don't want to have to do. Have you been in that position yet?
Yeah, I've talked to some of the guys together or separately too.
It's always good to pull them aside. I mean, I always thought treat people like you would want to be treated. So if coach is going to jump on you for something, he'll probably pull you aside, say, hey, listen, guy. I mean, he takes you out. You guys are having dinner together and talking like, what do we got to do together to make this work? And that's valuable because that's a skill that you can use in life later on too. But tell me how you feel about the team. I know you guys have, you ran into a pretty good basketball team week one, game number one at home. And Lexington, obviously, they've got probably one of the best players, not only just in Ohio but in the region. And then a tough loss at against Ashland. So, what are your thoughts coming out of those two games? Do you feel like okay, this is where we're at, and I think we're ready to get that first W? Here's where we need to go. I mean, how do you feel about that?
I think we need to. I don't know, really. After those two games, everyone's kind of like, we need to get the first win. But I think after practices a couple times this week, we will get it.
Well, the thing is, you can't let that first win be a monkey on your back. It's just a game, right? And Coach Fretz will tell you, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. It really is. And so if there's lessons that need to be learned, Ryan's going to tell you and say, okay, guys, this is what we need out of you. But it's like doing battle with the guys you're doing battle with. You need to look them in the eye and say, listen, we need to stop, so that they're like, yeah, let's get a stop. And that only comes from choice.
Yeah.
That's a choice that you guys make. You can make a choice to it or not to do it. But, man, you guys have enough stress in life being teenagers. Like, oh, my gosh, I got to get this first win. Just take a deep breath and play good basketball.
Yeah.
Right? And you'll be fine. And so that's good. So, Ryan, tell me about the team. What's the one thing right now that if you could say, guys, if we can get this working, we're going to be in good shape?
What do you think, Cam?
Defense or communication.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of it's been on the defensive end. I mean, we've been harping it a lot, but teams usually, going back to last year's team as well and this year's team. I mean, the offense came around last year. The defense never really got there.
Right.
And we're not letting that be an option this year. I mean, the first full week of practice, it was nothing but defensive drills, and we would couple a little bit of offensive things in there, but the focus of it was defense. And I mean, we still have a long way to go. We're outsized against pretty much every team we're going to play, and we've got to find ways to be, like great, above average, great, or elite at some of the other things because we don't have the size.
Sure.
So whether it's fundamentals, positioning, boxing out, which we are not that good at yet, that we have to continue to work on. We're giving up too many second chance points. Like our knowing what defense we're in. Our schemes. We try to keep it simple, but at the same time, we're still learning the simple aspects of it. We have a lot of guys on our team that can score. But we continue to be a little young on the defensive end of the floor, and I think once we pick up on that, the growth will be exponential when we figure out, how defense leads to better offense.
Right.
How a defensive rebound leads to a quicker transition. If we continue to give up 2 or 3 rebounds in a possession, the percentages for them to score just go up, and then it takes us longer to get the ball out of bounds and get the ball up the floor. So, I mean, Cam's 100% right, and we've said it to a couple different media places. It's defense and then communication. Our guys they have to be okay with talking to each other on the court. And I think, you see this happening more and more now at other schools in almost all sports.
Right.
Like we've stopped practice with my past teams when we didn't have a guy communicating, I'd say, go get your cell phone. And he'd run in the locker room, come out his cell phone, and I'd say, text what you should be saying to this guy next to you, you know, and he'd text him help. I go, I mean, we have no problem using the phones to communicate.
Right.
All right.
Let's use our mouth.
It is. I mean, it's Snapchat, you know, whatever it may be. And I'm guilty of it too. Text message, you know, Facebook, whatever it may be. But on the basketball court, you don't have that luxury.
You don't have the time.
No, you don't have the time. You don't have the luxury. So, I mean, we've got to be able to use our voice and help our teammates out. And what we're trying to instill in our guys is if you're not talking and you're not helping your teammates out, it's honestly a selfish play. You're not putting the team first.
Right.
And, it's selfish. We got to continue to get better at communicating and talking on both ends of the floor, but especially on the defensive end.
Well, one of the things that I had shared with Cam when I went out to greet you guys is that, I mean, I've watched you play, and I know you're not a selfish player. I said that's probably why you're a captain.
100%.
And so,
absolutely.
And so people look to you like, how are you going to handle a situation? Because I don't care what it is. If you're a leader, you have to lead, and you have to lead by example. And people will follow because here's the thing. If you look at it, they call it a 20-50-30 rule. And if I had, and this, I'm going to use, this applies to everything in life. All right, so there's 10 basketball players here. 2 of them will always do what needs to be done. They're like, let's go do it. And 5 of them are sitting here. And 3 of them are like, no way in heck am I doing that. And when these 2 start doing it, generally the 5 in the middle, somebody will say, "Yep, I'm in on that. Yep, I'm in on that." Next thing you know,
we've had this discussion.
Next thing
already.
you got it's called critical mass. Now you got more people in on the thing than not, and that applies to literally everything in life. But I will tell you, you guys don't have the size to be lazy on defense.
That's correct.
And I'm just speaking to you straight up. I've seen you guys. I know what the program is. I know you have lots of speed and you have lots of athleticism. You got guys that can shoot. But it doesn't matter if you don't get more possessions than the other team.
Yeah.
So the only way to do that is we got to stop you. And there's nothing better than getting a steal and going down and scoring. It's just like
it's the easiest shot in basketball.
It's like sticking I don't encourage. It's like sticking a knife in somebody. Like, we got you. We got you again. Sooner or later, you start to internally or emotionally bleed over that because like, dude, I can't even get the ball in. This guy just stepped mine and took the pass. You also need to have good defense so that you can team rebound because you're going to have to because you don't have a couple monsters down underneath that can give you the height and give you the advantage of using that airspace. It's available to everybody, but it is what it is. So anyhow, I think that's a good thing, and I think you're the right man for the job, and I think that Coach trusts you. And I would just tell you like this, your stats might not end up being what maybe your family wants them to be, or come on, man, get in there, score. You need to score more. Forget that. Just take this year and think about how did I lead this team through all of it, and you will be a winner at the end, and that will take you a heck of a lot farther than any of your memories of playing basketball. And I just want to encourage you that way because not everybody can be a leader.
Yeah.
But just can't. But everybody can follow a leader and will, and will respond to that. So, anyhow, it's a quick 15 minutes we got to talk here, but I just want to tell you guys, we surely appreciate you. And, the door's open every week if you want to come and talk. I won't be here, but we alternate. But it's my pleasure to have you guys tonight and wish you the best. And you guys, if you're not doing anything, the weather's not going to be bad. Drive up to Vermillion. It's not that far. Go watch a good basketball game because the Clyde Flyers are going to put it all together tomorrow night.
Should be a pretty up and down game too.
Yeah, it won't be boring.
They're back to their old ways of pressing, so they're gonna bring it at us.
That's okay. You guys are quick enough to deal with that.
Yeah.
That plays into your strength.
It does.
All right. Well, I'll let you guys go. Thanks so much, Ryan Fretz, Cam Shortridge from Clyde. We'll take a break and get John Cahill, Fremont's finest, in on there with the Fremont Ross program right after this time out. Listen to the High School Coaches Show live on Eagle 99.
Thanks.
And welcome back to Frickers, and it is segment number 2 here tonight in our basketball conversation. Boy, I've got longtime friend John Kale. I tell you how far we go back. I used to do his games when he was a star at Fremont Ross High School. He has worked his way through the region and coaching and all the things that he's done. And John, you're back at the helm of your alma mater, Fremont Ross. You guys are 1-2. And as we shared off the air, you feel real good about this team that you have. I know sometimes it can be a challenge depending on the things out of your control. That means who's coming out, who doesn't want to play, who doesn't want to practice hard, who can be eligible, all the things that come into play with young people. Mm-hmm. But you're in a situation, you've been at Fremont Ross now for a little while and trying to put your mark on this program. So tell me about this squad that won your first game but lost the second one by 7, the next one by 3. I know you've had some sickness. You haven't really had enough reps with everybody to kind of get the makeup of what you have there. But what are some of the things that you're seeing that you feel real good about?
I really like this team. They had a really good offseason. They're working really hard. I talked to a friend of mine in coaching who I won't name today, and he was asking me how the season's going, blah, blah, blah. And I said, give me 2 guys on my team. I was in my conference last year. Mm-hmm. So, and he couldn't do it. I mean, it's a really new roster. It's a lot of young guys, experience-wise and age-wise, but they practice hard every day. If I had one thing, we've just, we led at halftime against Northview, who's a really good team, huge, 6'9", 6'7" up front. We led again at Tiffin, who beat us by running clock last year in Fremont.
Right.
So, and, they graduated a couple guys. They have, the Gooding kid came in and played really well against us, and we graduated most of the team. Mackay played varsity last year, Mackay Lee, and TK, Tykel Patterson. The rest of the team is really JV kids that are stepping up, and man, they just fight every day at practice. They compete really hard, and we're in these games 2 minutes to go, and we're not making winning plays. But like I told them tonight, we will. When you work as hard as we do, they'll get to a point. And you've covered my games for a long time. Like, this reminds me a lot of when I started at Clyde. These kids are just gutsy. Like, they fight, they play hard, they scrap. They give you everything they've got, practice, games, and we just keep working and trying to get better.
Well, and I think that is the key thing is how can I get everything that's available to me out of the players, right? Mm-hmm. Because sometimes you're gifted with continuity. Sometimes, we might be big and we might be slow, but we can shoot well. Sometimes we're great free throw shooters. We're great on defense. We can't put the ball in the bucket. And you've got to massage all that to find out how can this team best win. It's no different than if you're watching the NFL.
Sure.
This team plays this way because this is the formula that works for them.
Right.
Have you been able to look at this team and say, okay, listen, this is kind of our identity, I think. And I think if we can continue to evolve here, we're going to stabilize and be pretty good. Where are we at with that?
Well, I mean, we're going to hang our hat on being a blue-collar, hardworking team. But I think we've just shot it. Like, if we just shoot it bad, I think we might be 3-0. Like, we were 1 of 7 from the line in the opener. We're shooting under 50% from the line, and we're not shooting threes at any high clip either. And so, when you get to that point where you don't make shots, it's hard to get into pressure. It's hard to, have a lot of belief. And again, these guys, they're not like babies, but they're very young experience-wise. Like, they haven't played varsity basketball.
Right.
And, they just, they got a lot to learn on that. And
they're learning on the job.
And we're coaching, we're teaching. We draw stuff up. We do journals like the kids did years ago, like Bob Knight days. Like, and they're very receptive to learn and try. I told them tonight when I came out here, like, I have nothing critical to say. We're 1-2. We lost a couple of close games we could have won. We won our opener. We have 2 tough games this week. But, like, when they're doing everything you ask and they're competing hard and they're taking much better care of classroom stuff, behavior, they lift hard. They just I challenge them every day. It's a lot of tough love. But they go hard and they work hard, and they're a blessing to me.
Well, I think you've coached long enough to realize that you're not just coaching basketball with these guys.
Sure.
You're basically a surrogate second dad to many of these kids, and depending on the society that they come from, their home life and everything else, maybe even a little bit more than that. But I guess the fact of the matter is building men and building trust is really what you're trying to do. If you got guys that are working hard, that means they trust you. Otherwise, they wouldn't work hard. Because there's a lot of kids will go to the line, and if they don't start hitting those free throws, they kind of give up. But I think you guys will shoot yourselves out of your problems from shooting standpoint, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's a long season, and we talked about a little bit of that tonight. And again, I just think when you have each other's backs, and again, it's tough. Like, practice is hard. I just left practice, and it's not for the faint of heart. We go hard. You're going to get yelled at. It's competitive, but like, we take care of each other, and we have our own little thing. And your point about surrogate parent, whatever. I had two great parents. You knew them. My mom's still alive, but not doing well.
Absolutely,
But my
I know.
dad passed a long time ago, and my coaches still meant the world to me, and probably the same for you. Like, I had coaches
Absolutely.
that still, I meet Joe Cecil for breakfast a couple times a year, Mike
Right.
Gilbert, so like, it takes a village, and we take that seriously. Like, our coaches, we try to be good role models. We try to, give the guys experiences that maybe they have, maybe they don't. We went to a Cleveland Charge game, beginning of the season, G League game, and
Right.
get an opportunity to go to Cleveland and be in a big city. And for me, that's not something my parents did. Like, we went to field trials and horse races and stuff. So my dad was a little different breed, but
But you went.
yeah, for
But
sure.
But you
Yeah.
went, and that's that whole bonding thing. And I think about that with my own grandkids. I've got a couple grandkids. I got one that is 5 years old and is just learning the fundamentals of basketball up in Detroit.
Very cool.
And I told him, I said, listen, and this kid knows how to work.
Mm-hmm.
And so I said, listen, you have to be able to dribble with your head up or you can't play.
Cool.
He said, why? I said, because if you can't see where to put the ball and you can't see, you can't play.
Right.
So he worked out all summer, so now he's playing fifth grade. He's bringing the ball up with his head up.
Good.
So that's a huge thing.
For sure.
Right, so
Yep.
you can't see the game, but the kid was willing to work at it. So I think that you start to, if you can get them to buy in and the fact that what I'm telling you is really going to help you,
Right.
and they work, you're going to make that happen. So if this is a working team for you, you know that it will develop over time.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts about, I know I've talked with the other coaches about football, but then in the league that you're in now,
Mm-hmm.
how do you feel the competitive balance is for you guys?
I like the league. It feels a lot more like what I'm accustomed to growing up in the old Buckeye, and then it's community schools, and Bo Schembech
Sure.
says the best conference in America, and I don't disagree. Like, Scott May was a National Player of the Year in Indiana,
Yeah.
and never won a Buckeye Conference title.
Right.
So you had to be a player to do that, and this is a lot more like the SBC. It's communities.
Right.
We're not playing. And nothing against the other league. It was just
No.
it just wasn't a place that I felt
It
Fremont
just
fit
feels
very
a little
well.
differently.
Sure.
And
Yep.
don't you think that helps also with the program because it's a little more like-minded, and you're not going to run into as many recruiting challenges and all the things that happen
Yeah, a little
in
more
some
in
of the bigger city stuff.
A little more in the big division than us. They
Yeah.
definitely have their, and it's a different animal up there. Like
Mm-hmm.
Northview, really good. They're 6'9", 6'7" up front. They lost two kids to another school that were also 6'9", 6'8" brothers. I mean, they had 4
Right.
kids over 6'7". But like Toledo's, it's a different animal up there. They just,
Yeah, it
like
is.
here we kind of have our towns, and that's where the kids play for the most part. And if you have them in Biddy, you know them. And our Biddy program's something that I took the same blueprint from Clyde that we had and brought here, and we've got an army of little guys that are coming.
Well, that was going to be my next
Yeah.
question. I see you got full JV, full freshman rosters. How do you feel about what's starting to come into the pipeline?
Well, I'd say from like the sophomore group down, and maybe freshmen more so, they were in our Biddy from the start. Because when I came back, we didn't have sixth grade basketball at all.
Correct.
Just take the year off and figure it out. And then everything else intramural, which I grew up in, like Atkinson playing Stom, and
Sure.
you're just not. I mean, a lot of the guys don't know the rules, and so we now have it to a point where we still have that league, and it's a good league, but we've got like our you go all the way up and down the line. Like, we're not losing much 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th. And we've got 2 teams at 8th, 2 teams at 7th.
Wow, good.
Yeah, and then
That's how it should
two
be.
at 6th, 5th, and 4th, and so good coaches. Russ Kaiser really is, and his wife
Oh,
Jess.
wow.
She's
Good.
probably doing a little more than him, but they're running the youth program down there for the most part.
Excuse me.
And I've got good coaches at middle school, and the future is very bright. But I don't know if I could be any more into this team than I am. Like, I enjoy going to practice. They're fun to coach. They give you what they got every day, and like yesterday we have a day off, and they're in a gym shooting. We had a wrestling tournament out there, so we couldn't get in our gym. And then I end up meeting a couple of them to eat just because they want to talk ball and
Sure.
figure things out. They're just
They wanna
good
be
kids.
together.
Yeah, and for me, like, you don't get that every day.
No.
I've been blessed to have it a fair amount, but when you get kids that their pastime is going to get shots up, it's fun to coach.
Well, I think there's a lot of value to that, and I think it puts you in a position where they can start to push each other because there's that accepting value with each other and understand. So we were talking about defense with my last interview, and we're talking about it. I said, you don't have any bigs. You've got to play defense. You have to get more possessions than the other team. Otherwise, you're not going to win.
Right.
And so you have to have people buy into that, right?
Sure.
That say, okay, this is what we need to do. Well, you have to have leaders to do that. I was going to ask you, have you had any coaching changes at all with your varsity staff?
Eddie Baptiste is over from the girls' side,
Right.
And so he's coaching JVs. Alex Caressel
Okay.
is my assistant. Trey Ruhlman, good player
Trey,
for
yeah,
Bellevue a few years ago.
absolutely, yeah.
He's come over kind of as a skills development guy, so he works
great.
with everybody. And
Great.
Trey's done yeoman's work, and he's a great young man. And
Good
this
demeanor.
guy's a future. Yeah,
Good demeanor, and he can back up what he's telling the kids because he can throw it.
yeah. We played a little bit tonight, and
Yeah.
we won't talk about his first shot. I hope he's listening to this, but
Well, I used to do all his games, so I
Yeah.
know exactly what kind of ball player he
No,
was.
he could play. He still can play. But John Minnick, Tristan Newman are doing the freshmen, and so it's a lot of the same faces, but a little different. And they're good men. They, like you talked about, like they coach basketball, but they also
Yeah.
care about the kids, and that's the way we want it.
With 2 games this week, you've got tomorrow at home against Anthony Wayne, and then Saturday you're playing Mansfield Senior. So if you're not doing anything, go into the gym. If you haven't been in the new
Yeah,
gym, you need to get in there.
Both
and-
home games this week, too.
Yeah,
We haven't
both
had a
home
game
games,
yet.
here in Fremont. So participate and help support the Little Giants. John, always a pleasure. You're always a ratings extravaganza when we have you on. And,
Yeah.
and just tell Tim that we apologize, but the numbers are going to be bigger right now.
Well, it's spiking.
Yeah,
Like,
it's spiking right now. It is, and that's not commensurate with our pay. It's just a fact.
Appreciate you, brother. Always
All right.
good to talk, man.
You too, John Kale. We'll take a break. We're going to come back and get Bo Everts here from Gibsonburg Girls. After this timeout, you're listening to High School Coaches Show live on Eagle 99. Number 3 of this interview, Bo Everts from Gibsonburg. Coach, you come in here with a team that's undefeated. It is a basketball frenzy in Gibsonburg, I'm assuming, right now.
Absolutely. We've got a lot of support, and it's been fun watching the program grow the last few years. And last year we had a really nice year. We won 17 games. We had
Sure.
a group of seniors there that kind of turned that program around and kind of changed the culture. And then this year it started out really well. We're playing the kind of game we want to play, and we've started out 5-0, and we're looking to continue that. And it's kind of funny, I was saying, when I took over the program, we were kind of hoping to win.
Sure.
And then last couple of years we knew we could win, but now we kind of expect to win.
So you've been here 5 years?
It's my 5th year, yep.
All right, so we talk about that a lot, about how to do a program and how long does it take. Well, generally 4 or 5 years, unless you're gifted with so many great athletes. And with these smaller schools, you know, that kind of runs hot and cold, right?
Yeah, I appreciate it because even in Gibson, where I got the job, they said that's about what they said. We'll give you 5-6 years, and I knew we were going to start with the youth and kind of build that program up and go from there. And it's nice, and we have a nice little 8th grade team coming behind us. 7th grade, we have 6th grade. It's been a nice little run, and then we got people buying in, and now it's starting to pay off.
Well, I've been doing this a long time, almost 40 years, and I know for a longest time when I go to Gibsonburg, the support from that community for basketball is kind of off the charts.
Yeah.
And, well, for all sports.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. But the thing about basketball over there, it's always been kind of special. And generally, the younger kids, if they've got something to look up to, that will help determine to them where they're going to put their athletic time, right?
Absolutely. My sister actually teaches at Gibsonburg, and they won 3 or 4 state championships when she was a softball coach. And I remember going to some of those games and just watching the community support them. We've had some really nice football teams and boys basketball teams over the years. The one kind of missing part was girls basketball. We haven't won a league championship in 40-some years.
Right.
It was 1976, so that's kind of one of our goals now. But it's funny because I look around and we have people now like recruiting people to come, and now people come down and watch, and they're excited.
Right.
Even my mother-in-law, she's recruiting all these people from church. They're coming in, and so now we have 7-8 people every week coming in to watch, and then
Right.
it's kind of catching on. It's just fun.
Well, and I think people want to be part of a program like that. It doesn't mean that you have to be undefeated all the time,
Yes, yeah.
but it creates an anticipation and an expectation,
Yep,
right?
absolutely.
And so when you get that, I mean, let's face it, Gibsonburg's a little town.
Yeah.
Clyde's a little town. You know, Fremont's not as little.
Yeah.
But, you know, Old Fort's a little town. You know, New Riegel's a little town. There's a lot of, you know, small schools in the and when little kids are saying, "Hey, listen, you know, I want to go. You know, I want to go to the game," and they start looking at it, and then obviously you start reaching into that youth program and start like John. And every team in that tournament had at least 30 games under their belt. We had never even played off the gym. We never even played more than intramural scrimmage with each other. And we ended up winning going 2-2 in that tournament. I thought it was a big deal. Well, from that point in time, you start building that Biddy program, and all of a sudden there's an expectation. Well, John used to, when he saw the leaders in like 6th and 7th grade, he'd bring the 6th graders on 7th grade trips and let them interact so they knew what it was. So when they came from freshman to JV, they knew what was expected, and it wasn't culture shock for them.
Yep, absolutely.
And I'm sure that's what you guys do there. And so, and the other thing is, if you do have young players that can play, I noticed you got 2 freshmen on your varsity, and one of them happens to be related to you.
Yeah.
And if you have the rule of thumb used to be, if you have a freshman that is good enough to be on varsity, they need to play.
Yep.
And so your daughter, obviously, one of the key players on your team, and of course, that puts her in a little bit of a position because she's a freshman, and you know sometimes young kids can have attitudes about that, but not if they've grown up that way.
And I'll tell you, our senior and junior class have just been great with her. Even the sophomores, like they welcome her. They know she's been coming up for a while, and we have a nice little. Besides her, like 5 or 6 other freshmen that are very very solid, but they've been very good. They haven't been. I mean, there's been no animosity. They have a freshman playing more than a senior or anything like that, and they just they've been great. And then I think it's part of our why we're successful right now is the culture is just so much better, and it's been fun, and the girls are feeding off each other, and they don't care who scores or how they score. It just getting the victories at the end and just watching it and just watching them enjoy being around each other has been fun.
Well, and that's the algebraic equation that balances out, right?
Yeah, I'm a math teacher, so that's perfect. There
So
you go.
it's kind of like it's the yin and the yang, and if you got young talent, you've got to play them, but the older girls have to accept them and realize we need them, and vice versa. And so it all really balances out. And I know this from girls because my daughter played for John and played girls basketball. That I have to say it. I think that girls kind of buy in and will give you literally everything if they're bought in.
Yep.
And if you can get all you can out of those players, there's a good chance good things are going to happen.
And I have like 3 seniors that have just been great. They've been here through some
I've
rough.
seen them, Gamble, Morant, and Paul.
Yep,
Right?
and they've been here since all 4 years, and they saw the struggles 4 years ago. We only won a few games, and then we won 6 of our last 8 the one year. We only won like 7 overall, but then last year we won 17, and now
Right.
we expect to win more. But like Jazz is just like amazing on the floor. She does everything you can
Right.
ask for. She leads the league in rebounding right now. She's up there in steals, and she can finish now, which is wonderful. Bree has been there all along too, and she's a post player that comes in and gives us hard minutes off the bench, and she's one of my favorite ones because she no matter what, like she's a senior and she doesn't play as much as some of the other players, and she's every time I watch film, when something good happens, she's the first one off the bench going crazy. It just that is what I love about like the team, and something like Bree. That's part of the reason why we're successful. And then Sophia Paul is also she's been playing varsity for 3 years, and she's real athletic, and she just does a nice job. And it's just fun having these girls, and they're all just having fun, and they see the success. They've worked hard all the way, and it took a while, but now we're there.
Well, and now they get to continue what they got to experience with last year's success.
Absolutely.
And they've seen it in the hard times, and now they can see it in the better times, but not to ever take that for granted, right?
Absolutely.
And boy, I tell you what, it's just exciting for you guys.
It
I'm
is.
just really excited for you. You said your next game was supposed to be against Old Fort. It's got canceled
Yep. Tomorrow.
due to some health challenges, right?
Yep.
So, bottom line is keep them healthy, right?
Absolutely, yeah. We're relatively healthy right now. I know last year we had some of our success. Some of the other teams struggle with injuries and stuff. We've been relatively healthy, which knock on wood that we continue that. But then, like I said, just if we keep working hard, it's going to be a fun season.
So tell me, for those that don't know your program or haven't seen you play recently, let people know what they're going to expect to see in reference to the style of offense, defense, and
Yeah, we
that kind
we
of
like to be aggressive, both offensively and defensively. So now we pretty much press the entire game. If it's a close game, we're running up and down. We had 8 points the other day, and that's with the running clock in the fourth quarter. We only scored. So we had 62 after 3 periods. So
Right.
we've scored in the 60s a few times, and without the running clock, could have been in the 70s and 80s. And just we like going up, scoring as fast as we can if we under control, obviously.
Sure.
And then defense, we like to put pressure. And it's kind of like what I've always wanted to do. It's just now we have these girls balled in, and we have the athletes to do it, and we have some girls off the bench, and even we have 3 or 4 other girls. Like we have a sophomore, Leah Hall, that just has done a wonderful job adapting from last year to this year, and she's been like she does everything. She rebounds, she plays great defense, she can score now, and it seems like Emily Henderson, another sophomore that comes off the bench and just does a great job rebounding, and she plays defense, and we don't care if she makes a basket or not. She rebounds and does a great job, and it's fun watching these young girls grow, and then they all bought into our style. So it's been really fun, and a lot of people, the fans I've talked to, like really enjoy watching. It's not slow paced; it's more
Sure.
pushing it. Like a lot of times they say the boys like to push it. Like we're trying to do that right now.
Well, so if that's the case, then your JV program is incredibly important
Oh, absolutely.
in reference to that. So are you guys coaching to develop? Are you? Because some JV programs, and I've over all the years I've seen it, some guys are just so concerned about the record that maybe when some of the girls leave JV to varsity, they're not as prepared.
Yeah, well,
because they didn't get what they needed at that level. For you to play your style, these folks need to be playing that under the gun, right?
And the thing is, and we only have 15, 16 girls on the program, so
Right.
it's tough. You can't just kind of separate. So those JV girls are getting better every day, too, because they're
Right.
playing against, like, I try to tell them sometimes they get frustrated. Like, you're playing against a very good varsity team.
Right.
You're practicing every day. You're getting better and better.
Right.
And I know that's what happened, I think, kind of like with Leah last year and even Emily, like, and even Elena Moulter. Like, they're all getting better because they've been playing against good varsity competition. And
yeah.
so our practices have gotten more competitive, and it is next person up, because if someone's not playing well, we have somebody else ready to go, which in years past that wasn't always the case. And now we have plenty of girls to fill in and just keep playing, and it's going to be fun.
So with the up-tempo style, I'm going to 2 questions for you. The first one is, do you find yourself going deeper into your bench to keep legs fresh?
Well, we've noticed, and we play 8, 9 girls usually, and our girls we're blessed to have some girls that are pretty athletic and pretty good stamina. We have a couple
Right.
cross-country runners and go up and down the court, so that helps. But we've noticed in almost every game, even the scrimmages this year, we'd start out maybe slow sometimes, and by the third, fourth quarter, we just started wearing people down, and then we're winning games. Like against Tiffin Culver this year, it was 20-20 at halftime, and then we scored 47 in the second half.
Right.
and won by like 25, 30. It just we've been wearing people down over time, so
Mm-hmm.
we might not be getting all the steals in the first quarter sometimes, but over time it just kind of wears them. And we're blessed. I said to have some nice athletes that can go up and do that pace.
Well, and to keep that pace, you kind of need that, right?
Oh, absolutely.
So it either got to be depth or conditioning. But
Yep.
if you have both, you're right. Over time,
That's
it's
really nice.
it's something a lot of people don't take into context.
Yep.
So my last question is about the new rule about the 5-quarter rule.
Yep.
So does that change how you coach at all?
With regards to
Well, the fact that you've got no 1-on-1.
oh yeah, five fouls
Yeah,
in a
5
quarter.
fouls
Gotcha.
per quarter.
It's funny because I'm kind of 50-50 either. I wasn't quite sure how.
Mm-hmm.
I really haven't seen craziness yet. I like the 1-on-1 at the end when it put pressure on someone to
Yeah.
make a shot. I kind of like that at the end. But this year, like we're pretty aggressive, but it does take a little longer to get to the foul line because you have to get 5 in a quarter.
Right.
But so far, we've pretty much outshot other teams rebound or foul shooting wise. But yeah, I'm kind of still on the fence. I'll see how it pans out.
Well, the reason I asked is I've done a couple games, and what I noticed was in one game, both teams are pretty much equal offensively, but one team just was sloppy in the first quarter.
Yep.
The other team got to the line and outscored them by 8 in the first quarter. It was all from the
That was
line.
it? Yeah.
All from the line. And then another situation was coming into a third quarter, a team didn't have any. They hadn't committed any fouls. They're a little bit of a pickle. Well, they got really aggressive.
Yeah.
And they were able to change the momentum of the game because of that at the right time. No one will listen. We've got 5 fouls to give before someone's even shooting a free
Yeah,
throw,
that's
right?
it. Yeah.
And then the last thing was I had one coach tell me, he said, well, listen, I'll tell you this. I missed the 1-on-1 because of the pressure.
Yep.
But on the other hand, if you're in a critical situation, you got to get a point. You know you got 2 shots. It's gonna cut down on some of that stress.
Yep.
Probably a better chance you're gonna make one of them.
Yeah, I'm still I'm still on the fence. I haven't
Yeah,
decided
I'm
yet.
kind of old school about it, but I haven't really noticed it speeding up the game. Maybe it has, and maybe through the year we'll figure that out.
Yep.
But yeah, I just wanted to get your take on that.
Perfect.
All right, well, listen, Bo, thanks for coming. We're always glad to have you. Congratulations on a great season, and your next game then is going to be when?
Friday, we're home against St. Joe.
Against St. Joe, yeah.
Yep.
and a
I
lot
think you
of
guys
people-
I think you're coming, or someone's coming.
Yeah, we're going to be there to broadcast the game. Right,
Perfect.
we will be. All right, well, thanks so much. Have a great rest of the night. Thanks for coming to Frickers. Thanks for talking about Gibsonburg basketball.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right, that's Bo Abart's head coach. We're going to take our final break and bring in Eric Sweet from the Oak Harbor Rockets after this timeout on Eagle 99. Frickers, this is our final segment on the Coaches Show. Glad you're with us tonight. My name's John Cullen, if you don't know, and I have the dubious honor of bringing in the head coach of the Oak Harbor Rockets, Mr. Eric Sweet. I ventured out the other day to go watch a basketball game. I came over to see your Oak Harbor Rockets play. I'm going to give you my 2 cents on it. I know you got one player that's pretty gifted, but what I saw was a lot of other players that were pretty much bought in to team basketball. And I was pleasantly surprised at what I saw because I know that Rossford had some athletic kids, but I thought I saw a lot of continuity in reference to team rebounding, how they shared the ball. Obviously, Stokes is a great player, and I think once he realizes that there's not many people that can stop him, that he could really dominate. But at the same time, I saw him deferring to people and everybody engaged. And I was really surprised. Not that I thought you guys wouldn't be good, but I was pleasantly surprised. And then you came back the next night. You came back Friday, and you beat a really good Genoa team by 7. So is my assessment correct in what you're getting from this team, that they're not taking a lot of possessions off?
No, that's something that after the first 2 games I was very proud of the kids for. Is something we've talked about. We're not exactly a very tall team. I mean, we got Ethan in there, you know,
Sure.
looking at 6'5", and looks a little taller than that with his big old curly hair and his wingspan.
Right.
But we're not a big team, and so we have to scrap and play hard and play together and share the ball. And they did that the first 2 games, and you nailed it. I think when we move the basketball and it moves around, and yeah, we have a great player in Ethan Stokes, and he can fill it up. I mean, at 27 versus Genoa, which were huge, but at the same time, we have other guys that are willing to step up and take the shots when it's needed to, and Ethan does a great job of finding those guys too. And it's not just him; they all do a good job of finding each other and moving the basketball and moving without the basketball. That's been a big stress here this preseason is we can't just stand and watch. You know,
Right.
we have to move. We're not, like I said, we're not big. So if we can move and shift and screen away and cut and move the basketball and keep doing it, we'll get open looks. And then you got to make them. And the first night versus Rossford, we made them. The second time we played, Friday night we played Genoa, we didn't make as many, but we made enough to win the game, and that's all that matters some nights.
Well, yeah. I mean, 1-point victory is
It's a victory.
exciting, but it counts in the ledger the same as a
Correct.
20-point win.
Correct.
Well, you know, and the other thing is early in the season, learning how to win close games is really important
Correct. Yeah.
because it's I was listening to some coach talk about it. There's a mental focus that you have to have late in games in order to win close games, and the only way you can get that experience is by having to go through it, and hopefully a majority of players do it all at the same time.
Correct.
You
And-
might have 1 or 2,
Yeah.
but getting everybody to say, listen, we're locking down, we're getting this next possession, you know, that starts to happen. You can pull some things through.
And that mental toughness thing really showed up on Friday night versus Genoa. Ethan picked up his 5th foul with 1:33 to go in the game.
Right.
And, you know, so we scored 57. He had 27 of the 57.
Right.
So you got 1:33 to go, and your best player is fouled out of the game.
Sure.
And it's a close game. And so we had many guys step up. Michael Alon stepped up to the free throw line and nailed a couple. Danny Allen, my only senior, stepped up and nailed a
Right.
couple. So for those guys to be able to step up when your best player, your star player fouls out, that speaks to what you said earlier about the camaraderie this team has and the toughness that we have. And I was very excited for those kids and the opportunity they got and the advantage they took of it to win a big game. And being at home obviously helps out with that because
Sure.
the crowd, it was a great crowd, don't get me wrong, but when you're at home it's a little nicer than when you're on the road. And they're definitely going to be fired up when we go back there. But
Oh, yeah.
to come out with that win after something like that happens with your best player fouling out, I was proud of the kids that were on the court and how they finished the game very, very well.
Well, they didn't have a choice.
Exactly. They
Well,
didn't.
no, they did have a choice,
Yeah.
but they made the right
Correct,
choice. Right?
correct. They stepped up and
And that's the difference, is
they
being
did
able
the
to make
things
the
they
right
needed to.
choice. Yeah, and I think about that because I've done a few basketball games in my day, and I thought about that, and I thought, you know, teams are going to scheme to stop your key player.
Yep.
And when you run into a team that's got more than one big, and he's the only one down there dealing with it, the chance for him getting foul trouble is pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, he guarded the best player for Genoa. I mean, Walter
Yeah.
Plants is a great player, and
Right.
and he accepted that challenge for me as a coach, and he wanted it. And so that helped out, but that's part of it too, is learning on that. And that's something me and him talked about in film sessions, showing a couple times where maybe you could not have got this foul if you did this or that to help yourself out. But, yeah, I mean, offensively, we shot the ball really well the first night versus Rossford. Very happy with that. On Friday night versus Genoa, I wish we'd have made a few more. We had some open threes mid-fourth quarter that could have maybe separated it a little bit more. Didn't go down, but I'm definitely preaching shoot the ball when you're open. And so
Okay, what are we going to do to deal with this, right?
Correct.
We haven't run into that yet.
yeah, we haven't run into it yet, but we're trying some different things to keep the tempo going. Not always being the same things all the time. Try to
Sure.
create a little bit of tempo that way too. And so that's nice also. And, you know, when you make a couple of shots too, the other team gets a little tight and they want to play a
Yeah.
little faster, so that plays in your favor too.
Sure.
Playing with the lead is a lot easier than playing from behind.
Absolutely. Yeah, good thing about basketball, though, that you can't score with the clock stopped, and that's a good thing from shooting free throws. How is your team as a free throw shooting team?
We shot very well against Genoa on Friday night. I can't say exactly what it was, but I know it was up there because Jackson Overmeyer, he went 4 for 4. Michael Alani, I believe, was 5 for 6. Danny Allen was 4 for 4. So we shot the ball from the free throw line very well that night. We've tried some different things in practices to try to improve from the free throw line. You know, every coach wants to practice free throws in practice, but it's always kind of hard to make it game-like and make it.
It's not the same unless you're dead
It's
dog
not.
tired
It's
and,
not,
and you're
exactly.
under the stress of it. It's just not the same.
Exactly. So,
But the repetitions can be, and that can be something that you go to
and that's
and
what
deal
we're
with that.
that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get reps in at free throws and try not to take 10, 15 minutes to do it. Try to take 5 minutes, but still get a lot of reps up. And the kids have done a good job doing that. I think it paid off on Friday night for us.
So a couple games in, you're kind of comfortable with the identity of the Rockets, right, and how you're playing. You're getting a lot out of a lot of players. It's just not heavy one way,
Yep.
which is good. You've dealt with so far a good shooting night and not so good shooting night. So what's the Achilles heel for you guys that you know that this is the one thing that if we can knock this up right now, we're gonna be a tough out. What would it be?
You know, it's going to sound dumb because we're 2-0, but we're still fighting football leagues right now.
Yeah,
We really are.
Well, no, I mean that's a point I'm trying to make.
It's
yeah.
a real thing for us. I mean, my point guard, Michael Alon, he had a rough last game, and he's come into the season and has busted his tail, but he's still fighting those injuries from football season. And then it just trickles, you know, like a small ankle roll here or there hurts us too. So our Achilles heel is just going to be keep fighting through those things and staying in shape and getting through it because we're not big, we're scrappy, and so we're going to take some bumps and some bruises. Carson Slates came out on Tuesday night, shot the ball well for us, but then took a knee to the thigh on Friday night. And so, you know, these are the small things. When you're a small team, you have to fight through those. And so that's going to be our Achilles heel is kind of staying healthy without bruises because we have to be scrappy, we have to be tough. And when we've done that, we've obviously won 2 games in a row from it.
I know there was on Tuesday night when I was there. I can't remember who it was. It might have been your brother. It might have been your dad. We have unique conversations up in the stands, and your brother says, "Boy, you know," he says, "I don't know if I could coach with you because you're doing play-by-play." I said, "Hey, it is what it is, right?" We were laughing, but he really liked number 42.
Danny Allen.
Yeah, and then we talked about it. He said, those guys look like linebackers. Those 2 guys down the block, they're both linebackers from the football team. Well, I hate to tell you, but if you've been crunching people for however many weeks and now you're going to try and finesse basketball, it just takes time.
It does, and we're trying to get it out of them little by little. And each player is getting better each day in practice, and everybody's kind of come around at their own pace, which is fine. being a lineman and being a defensive lineman like Jacob Reidner was a defensive player of the year for the league, all-state player. Like, it's different when you just get to line up and make a swim move and run into people. Well, you can't just run over people now. And so those are the fine things, but he's starting to get those legs in him, and his brother's the same way, Carson. And so those are the things that I have to work on, and I knew that coming into the season with the great football run that we had. And I'll never say that it's a disadvantage, because winning breeds winning, and success breeds success. And I'm proud of the football team and what Coach May does there, and I'm proud that these guys play football and then they come out here and play basketball.
Well, they
It's
have a
not
couple
easy.
choices. They can wrestle or they can play basketball.
Well, hopefully it's the round ball, because
it's the round ball.
it's a lot better in my opinion.
Well,
But
absolutely.
I'm
You
only
can-
one guy.
You can go ahead and recruit that. So I'm going to ask you the same thing I asked some of the other coaches. The 5 foul in the quarter to get to the 2 shots. How do you feel that can become an advantage at some point in time in the way you coach?
I definitely do. I think it's a change in the game. I think it's a good change in the game. I do like it. I like that you can reset it. If you have a bad quarter, it's not the end of the world.
Right.
Obviously, if it's the fourth quarter, it hurts you a little bit more than the rest of the quarters.
Right.
But I do enjoy it. I definitely think it plays in favor of the people leading. It's much harder to, you can be a 50% free throw shooter and you get 2 shots no matter what.
Right.
So there's not as much pressure on
Not
you.
as much stress.
Correct. And so, it does play an advantage for the leading team. But at the same time, it is something. I think, we've talked about with my players, like if it's the third quarter and we only have 2 fouls and they're coming down trying to run a set, take a foul. And so that's something different that we're not used to doing before. So I'm excited for it. I don't think it's I think it's a good thing, and I don't look at it as a bad thing at all.
And every coach has got a different feeling on it. And, of course, it's something different. I would think that if you're in a position where you know that a little run could put a game away and you've got fouls to give, you could get pretty aggressive.
Correct.
And say, okay, we're going full court press for the next 2 minutes. And, as long as we don't put them on the line, we're going to steal as many possessions as we can, try to extend this lead. So I think it could affect how you coach, depending, versus if we're only one away from one-on-one. Well, I don't want to put them on the line, so I can't do this because of that. I think you guys will find your way through it, but I think it's kind of interesting. And just like the shot clock will eventually find its way into high school basketball.
It will. And when that comes to, I'll play with it and
You'll
use
play
it to
with
my
it the way to your advantage.
But it definitely be coming around.
All right, so
too.
my last question has to do with your youth program. So I know 2 of your ball boys have a tendency to like to throw it up when the team's warming up, and especially on the JV side, not so much on the varsity side, but that JV side, they were up there shooting as much shooting, or is there certain goals that you have for them there?
Yeah, I'm definitely, I've been doing this for 12 years now, and I finally get to reap some benefits with my 2 little boys being down in the Biddy program. And it's definitely fun to watch them on the weekends and interact with their teammates now. I've been doing it for a long time, but now actually seeing my kids down there, it brings a smile to my face, and I enjoy it. Got my wife on the bench coaching one of the boys' team.
Yeah.
So she's fun with that too, because now she came home there at night, man. She's like, "Oh man, practice was hard." She was tired, and I'm like, "Yeah, it's been 12 years. It takes a lot of energy and effort, and it's a whole family thing now."
It wears you down a little differently than what you suspect. Well, and then the last thing was, and when we were looking at your 2 boys, of course, your boys are built differently and carry themselves differently. I didn't believe it. Jason, I said, so Jason, I said, so what do you think? He goes, well, he says, Coop looks like how I was growing up, and Beckett is more like Eric. And I said, it's hard for me to believe, Jason, that you were ever tall and thin.
He was.
Yeah, that's what he said.
He was the tall, thin, 3-man shooter, and that's what Cooper loves to do. And Beckett's got his old man in with the low, slow feet, but
he wants to go in and mix it up.
He does mix it up, and he gets up and down the court, and they both have their own style and play. And
it's kind of that's really good.
It's awesome, and I love helping them out, and they love the game. And we'll go up at nights and shoot by ourselves, and it's those are the best moments as a dad.
Sure.
I love this game, and I always enjoy it. And so when they get to go up there and do it, it's fun and special. Now Nikki's getting more into it too, which is outstanding, and it's just a whole family affair.
So
It started with my old man.
Your dad's a legend. Your dad's a legend, high school basketball coach, well respected. So, how many years have you been a head coach now in basketball?
This is my 15th year as head coach already. I've I've always said it's been a unique life for me. You know, I've always
It
had
has.
the game of basketball in my life. My old man was a head coach for 30 years at Iowa Glandorf, had a great success, and
Yeah.
I jumped right into it afterwards. And so I've never not had a winner without basketball
Yeah.
in the sense of a coach or a player. And so it's definitely a unique experience, but something I would never trade for the world.
Well, it's in your DNA.
It is.
And it
It
ain't
is.
leaving. It ain't leaving anytime
and
soon.
it's okay, and I'm glad my dad got me into it and taught me this game. So it's
All right,
fantastic.
well, we're going to finish up here. It is 8 o'clock. We're going to remind you you're listening to WFRO Fremont, Eagle 99. Eric Sweet joining us. We also had Ryan Fretz tonight. We had John Kale, Bo Everts from Gibsonburg Girls, Eric from Oak Harbor. Don't forget that tomorrow night I'll be at Bellevue to do the Galleon Tigers versus Bellevue game on 92-1 The Wolf. On Thursday, Eagle 99 will have Anthony Wayne at Fremont Ross here in town. And then Friday, St. Joe Girls will be at Gibsonburg Girls Friday night. So for all of our coaches, for Nick here as our on-site engineer and Aiden back at the station, John Cullen saying good night from Frickers, our high school basketball coaches show. You heard it live here tonight on Eagle 99. Good night and God bless.